Today, I am officially here on behalf of Man United fans. And if you go everywhere in the news, in social media, and especially after yesterday's game, which to some extent we all knew Man United will lose. No, I predicted they'll draw. But that is not important. The thing is, so far for Amorim, these are the data. He has won 8 out of 31 league games. The worst thing is that he lost to Spurs on Europa final. Last season, he got Man United after Ten Hag at position 14. Everybody was expecting him to improve the team, then he took it to position 15th. Currently, they are in position 14th. This season, they have conceded 7 goals and have scored only 4 goals. They have played with Man City, Fulham, Burnley, Arsenal, got defeated by Arsenal and Man City, drew with Fulham, and then beat Burnley. Is it that so? Don't know if I've made any mistake, but that's what it is. Now, if you look at it, they have lost to Arsenal and Man City, which those have always been the top 4 teams in Premier League. If you look at it, it doesn't make a lot of, it's not something that we should all be gasping, especially considering where Manchester United has been, as like is coming from. But that's not all. Drawing with Fulham is something that people have been talking about, saying Man United should not be drawing with such team at this moment. But we have seen Fulham draw with every possible teams, be it at the top, at the bottom, in the middle. Fulham has been a very, very solid team for some seasons. Again, with Burnley, as much as people have been saying that Man United got a lucky win versus Burnley. You have seen Burnley play with other teams. Like, even when they played with Liverpool, they were nearly drawing. That just shows that Burnley is a good team. Now, if you are considering all these things or these games, you'll come to the realization that Man United this season, as much as on paper they look so bad, it's just that they have started with hard teams. They have started with the teams where if you are building your team and you start facing these teams, there is a probability that people will start seeing you differently. People will start seeing you negatively. And if you have seen Man United, you can see there's a bit of change. There's a bit of change, especially in defense and in midfield. In that, they're a little compact. Now, they lost their mind versus Man City, but if you're looking at Fulham, if you're looking at Burnley, and if you're looking at Arsenal game, you'll discover that there's some sort of compact in how they play whenever they go forward, whenever they come back. That has not been happening for Man United. For anybody who has been seeing Man United for a couple of seasons, you'll find that especially during Ten Hag's era and during who's the other guy, they were all everywhere. It's like they were a disjointed team. Everybody was moving in his direction. Now, that's not very important in how we analyze Amorim. What do we consider? Like, if we are going to state or think, if you are going to critically think on how he's managing this team, what are the mistakes that he has been doing? I think the first and the biggest mistake that he did was because all of us, the fans, everybody, every pundit, during last season, during the preseason games, and even at the start of preseason before the transfer season was closed, we were all worried with that midfield. I wasn't worried for the same reasons that a Man United fan is worrying. I was just worrying because as a person who likes football, sometimes even if it's your opponent, sometimes you just look at the team and you see, okay, these are the mistakes that I think this team should correct. And that's how I was viewing Manchester United. We were all seeing the mistakes in the midfield. We all noted that the midfield has no legs. Like there's no any person in that midfield who can run. The only person who probably the team depends on is Ugarte. But then Ugarte is, I think, very new to Premier League and he can't match the energy of all these other guys, even from small teams. The Sadiq is the Wharton, the Anderson, the everybody, like I said, or the Rice. He can't match the way those guys usually run. The other guy is Casemiro, then there is Fernandez, then there is Maino. All these other guys, they don't run. Now, if you're going to look at somebody like Mount usually plays like an attacking midfield. He can run, but recently he has been having a lot of issues, a lot of injuries. You can't depend on him. That means that the one place where the Man United needed to sign was in the midfield, like sign somebody, and everybody was talking like sign Baleba or sign somebody equally capable to do that, but they did not do that. And considering they have a two midfield, a two pivot midfield, a two midfield pivot, I don't know how to replace that, but it means that you need to have those guys. None of those guys should be playing at a lower, do you say capacity? Like those two guys at that midfield should always be on. They should always to cover their ground because one is covering on the left side, the other one is covering on the right side. They need to cover their ground from minute 1 to the 90th minute. If anybody or any of those guys just loses a bit, if any of those guys just gets tired and he can't be subbed off, if there's no cover for those guys, you'll always concede. And it takes just a minute or 2 minutes, you'll always concede. Now, that happened, and we know that he made that mistakes. But the second mistake is that how he talks. He has said over and over again that he's not going to change. And we have seen from last season, and everybody was like, for instance, even when we had Potter, like sometimes Potter used to play in a certain way, and we all were cursing him, saying that if this thing is not working, sometimes you just need to experiment a little bit. Like you need to experiment a little bit, and he did not, and he was sacked. Even when Pochettino came, he did the same thing, and people were asking him, just experiment. And for Pochettino, lucky for him, he decided that, you know what, he's going to like really adjust just a little, and is one of the adjustment he made is to push Cucurella to the midfield, and that single change just covered that midfield to an extent that we started winning game after game after game to by the end of that league, where by January, February, people are calling for his head, saying that we need to sack this guy. But that time, by the end of the league, from that single change, everybody had changed their mind and they was asking like, probably we should let Pochettino go with that. And it only took a single change. Now, for Amorim to know that his plan is not working and decide to not change is not going to help him. And I think this is not the first time that this is occurring to him, because he has been a coach for AC Braga and then Sporting Lisbon. And for the first time he went to Sporting Lisbon, I think he won the league. Then after that, he was just going down from 4 to 7 to 13, and people are complaining until he decided to change, to just shift certain individuals from the way they play to how he's playing right now, especially in front. And it's the reason that they won the league again. Sporting CP, I don't know what's Portugal's league. And then he also set them up to win the second, you know, the last league. These are the things that is not learning them, is not learning from. Like, these are the things that, and that's the problem of being successful for sometimes. Like, you just think that you have a lot of confidence on yourself. You forget that sometimes it's not just your power doing the thing. Sometimes it's the system. Like, you might be so good, but you are good based on the system. Like, you are depending on the system. Like, if you have the right players playing on right wing back, left wing back, I don't know, CB, whatever, you can win a game. But if you have those guys who are not where they should be, you'll definitely lose the game. And it happened to Tuchel again. When we were telling Tuchel that you don't have Reece James, you don't have Cucurella, like they are injured. No, not Cucurella, Chilwell. The two are injured. You can't play with left wing back. He didn't listen. He just decided that, you know what, this system has been working. I'll continue to depend on this system to continue working or something. And it failed him. In the end, he was sacked. That's the thing. And I think everybody has seen that Mourinho quote. Like, some managers think that things are whatever they should be. Like, they don't have to change. They don't want to change. And what happens is that they lose. So, here's my thing. If, I don't know, Man United can decide to wait. But waiting does not guarantee that they are going to win anything. Waiting does not guarantee that Amorim is going to change anything. They'll probably just remain in 14, 13, 12. If they're as good, if Amorim is as good as we think he is, and is going to improve certain players, which I think most of those players are 30, 30, 28, 29, Fernandez, Casemiro, nobody's going to improve them. Mbeumo is at his prime. 25, 26, Kona is at his prime. There's nothing you are going to do to those guys. There's no single way you are going to improve. The only people that can improve are people like Maino, Yoro, and those guys are not going to influence your team. So probably he has to wait until they sign people. Now, if he has to wait until they sign people, what he has to do is to find a team that does not lose the games that they don't have to lose. Like, if you get Wolves, you beat them. If you get to Liverpool, you know that they will beat you, and you play accordingly. If you get to West Ham, you beat them. If you get to Arsenal, you know that they might win. You play accordingly. If you don't do that, there's a high likelihood that you got 14, 15, 16. You start fighting relegation. Of course, there's no chance they will be relegated, but there's a higher chance that by the time, if there's any expectation from the hierarchy, from the management, that they need something this season, like they need to win something or they need to improve the team, then Amorim has to change. Amorim has to at least find games to experiment. Yep.